Oh.
Ba, 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 ba,
Guilty
guilty
balls.
balls. Woo!
Went a little higher pitch today.
Yes, yes.
Kind of
Well,
getting in the Christmas spirit.
see, there you go. I was channeling my inner. I heard pay phone booth earlier today.
Oh, nice.
So what is that?
Mine was really
Channeling
more
my
like Wayne's World,
Oh, there you go.
right?
Mine is more Adam Levine. I think I'm looking a little like Adam today.
Adam Levine's a little sexy. Nope, you don't look like him.
All right. So how are you?
Good. Welcome back, everyone, to the Kilted Balls
Yes.
podcast. Hopefully, you've missed us and wanted to hear from us. I'm sure we have stuff to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been forever. So we have hit my busy season, so Ballbuster's busy season. So it feels billions of things have happened since last we got together. Jason was here last time.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Good
nice. We
episode.
got compliments on the show. I don't know if we have
Nice.
any online, but like people reached out and were like, "Oh my gosh, that last show was amazing." So
Oh, that's good.
yeah,
As
apparently,
opposed to normal.
yeah. Normally people are just like, "That show's dumb." What they said this time was it's way better when we're talking about the entrepreneurial stuff than when we're talking about NFTs and
Okay.
crypto.
Okay.
So
I can understand that a little bit.
they're like, and Jason is super interesting and really cool. So Jason has a fan.
I know. I was gonna say, who was that?
No, can't tell.
Or multiple someones.
Listeners are anonymous.
Yes. Yes. Well,
Anonymous.
thank you. Thank you. Love hearing that. Love hearing that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, and so it is December, so we won't talk too much about crypto, but we've started our trading strategy again. And by started our trading strategy again, it's important to know that I am doing nothing.
I know that's unfortunate. Well, what you're lacking, I'm picking up because I have I'm being a what's the good word I'm looking for? Almost not an advisor because I'm not an advisor role, but I have like a pupil that I'm training how to do it.
I
So
think
it's
that's
been
just
very exciting.
amazing. So it's our first guinea pig test run. And we have
Disciple,
something
for lack
to
of a
do.
better word.
Yes. And they're doing our strategy. So without going into crazy amounts of detail, what strategy are they doing?
Just the Bitcoin bot.
5, 10,
10.
15, 10. Okay. So they're doing the BTC 10, which is what I was doing, and my money's tied up, or I would be doing right now.
Mhm. So
And
it is the 6th day of the month, and we are up 8% right now.
sixth day, and we're up 8%. I would
Not
say
bad.
that's not bad. The key will be what you're at on the 10th day of the month.
Yes, because though that it's like right around that 9th or 10th day is the funky day.
Yeah, I tell you
So
what. So listeners, this is it's not advice, it's not anything, but I will tell you since we've started running our strategies and paying attention. And one of the things about the strategies is we pay really big attention to every single day. So every single day is charted on its own. And we started testing things, I think, September. Is that right?
yeah, this is the 3rd month. So
So, no, this would be the
you started September. I started the beginning of October for sure, but we were doing some stuff in
okay.
September. Yep.
So, anyway, the 8th, 9th, 10th of the month in September, it's horrible. And we thought, oh, weird, funky things happen. That's crazy. And we rebounded, everything was fine. And then in October, right around the 8th, 9th, or 10th, things went to shit. And we're like, wow, who knew? Twice in a row. That's odd. And then November hit, and 8th, 9th, and 10th, like right around there was stupid bad again. Like I got booted right out of my strategy, I think, in that. Like it was bad.
I closed both that day at 10%.
Nice.
So
And then got out of Dodge.
that's why yep, I got out of Dodge last month. So Now, I know actually, I think every month it's been the day the Fed announcement has been the day it's been crazy.
Okay.
I'm 99% sure. I know last month wasn't. I'm pretty sure the month before too.
No, last month was FTX.
Was it that day? No, it didn't happen that early, did it? In the
It
month?
was right around then when the news leaked about FTX, I
Okay.
think.
Okay.
And
So that
everything
makes
went
sense.
kind of
That
like
makes a lot of
crappy.
sense. Hmm.
And so because the feds release, they don't release a month. There's like gap months and stuff. It's weird for them to go monthly.
Oh, I thought they've been going every month. Okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. I know that there's another announcement coming up, but they're thinking it's only going to be 50 basis points. So
Yes,
it'll be
yes.
interesting to see what happens with that, and hopefully like all the stuff with FTX and all that crap is
Yeah.
just wait and see what happens with what's their face.
Well, and
There's one more that we're waiting on.
I'm
Oh,
kind of
good.
regretting on my strategy right now because I purposely am not taking a loss. I think just because I'm stubborn, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not taking a loss, but it means my money is tied up while I wait.
Yeah. So I ended up doing that, and I don't think I talked about it because we didn't really talk about the trading strategy much last week. But I took the $150 loss to have access to $3,000. So I did
Okay.
that at the end of the month last month, and it
So
was
that
still
you would have
good, but
access.
I took that L to have because I was like, well, I need 5% to get that money back, and better than
And you
like
can
not
make
having to.
like you said, you've already made 8%, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've actually made more than that because it's 8% of the total money that I have
See,
in.
and one of mine right now is down 20. And I mean,
Hmm.
it was probably better earlier today. I think my position was opened at 12:14. So
Hmm.
we're not back to that.
Yeah.
But again, my money's all tied up because of it, which is it's not bad. Like I'm not taking an
Hmm.
L, but it means my
Hmm.
other money is sitting there not doing anything. And what I did last month was I opened a bot during that time,
Yeah.
and this I
This
opened
better
the
be
bot.
important. Ali, I'm recording.
So maybe I need to
Sorry.
open a bot and let that money. But I thought that earlier in the week and then I forgot. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's the stuff. But your pupil's doing good and yours is doing good. I'd say 8% of 6 days is pretty doggone
I'm
good.
I'm
So
super happy about, and actually it popped into my head super fast. I'm gonna try not to really think about it, but I was like, instead of 10% a month, what if we're hitting 10% every 7 days? That'd be pretty sweet.
oh
But
my gosh. It'd be fantastic, right?
the big thing right now is Bitcoin is literally just moving sideways, which I think is why it's working so well. I mean, because we've
That's the trick
closed,
to the
and
strategy.
actually, there's one day that we didn't close. That was it would have been just under 3%, but we didn't close. I was playing games with some friends, and Tristan was off with some friends, so we would have had to do it over the phone together because we're making sure that we all of our numbers are exactly the same. So like if I'm paying attention, I can send him a message like, "Hey, like close now." Like if it's at 8% and the market's looking like it's going to turn, I'd rather take the 8% than wait for the 10
Right.
if like all the other factors are looking like it's going to turn.
Yeah,
But
for
I mean
sure.
that hasn't happened. We haven't been that high, but the negative hasn't even been 10%. So just taking those little chunks, I mean, even to take 2% the one day, I think was kind of a mistake, but it's fine. But if you can snag 3% every day, I mean, like we've talked about many times, some people want 3% for the whole year.
Well, and so this gets us into our entrepreneurial stuff. And you may say, whoa, 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 how is this getting into entrepreneurial stuff? Because here's the thing about compounding people always talk about it in terms of money,
Mm-hmm.
but it's true in your daily life too. You don't have to make a drastic change in your existence. Like people think that, right? They're like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
I've got to cut out sweets, or I've got to lose 50 pounds, or I've got to do this. And they wholesale it, which
Mm-hmm.
I get, right? That's how some people are. But compounding works with you too. If you change yourself 1% every month,
Mhm.
it'll
Yeah.
compound,
And it's just
right?
those little things. It's those little things that you're doing every day. And you might not do it every day. And if you
No,
miss a day, you go back and you're exactly right. Actually, it's so funny that you brought that up because today I would say 90% of my listens was Tony Robbins. And I just stumbled across this morning and I was like, oh, I hadn't he was on an interview with Tom Bilyeu. So he is, and actually, the reason I was listening to that is because I happened to catch a snippet where Gary Vee was on Tom's show, which I didn't realize they were that connected. I heard some people compare him. I mean, I have his NFT. Some of his shows I listen to, some I don't, but I wanted to hear the Gary Vee one. It was from 5 years ago, super good. But
right.
the Tony Robbins one was from earlier this year, and I had just missed it, whatever. But then I ended up listening to a couple more episodes, and for one person personally in my life to be such a game changer, like I can remember the first time reading his books and some of the changes just in my mind. And we've talked about this before on the show. Any longtime listeners, you've heard this, but I used to have like the worst self-talk out of anyone you could imagine.
Oh, right,
So
right.
getting past that and some of the things that Tony teaches and stuff were super beneficial. So it's funny talking about that because that's the kind of stuff he preaches.
Yeah, well, and that's it. There's so many things I want to pull from this right now. That's amazing to me.
Write it down, write the
Um,
list down.
right. Well, yeah, we'll see how well my busy brain works. The first is that yeah, people just don't think that, right? Like I'm depressed because of, so people will look at me in the world and think that I am maybe not. Maybe I'm like totally throwing that out there. Maybe they think I'm like a big fat old guy, which I always say I am. But I'm not the shape that we remember me being. Do you
Mm-mm.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a totally different world of shape. And so it's really hard to get motivated to do anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? What if I just do this and just make these little changes? And again, if I miss a day, all right, I missed a day, but I'm trying to just do the little improvements. And that's just how I'm wired, right? You've been around me
Mm-hmm.
forever and ever.
Yeah.
That's just how I'm wired. Like, okay, I need to keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And if you always keep moving forward, good things will happen. And I preach that to
Mm-hmm.
my kiddos and everything else. Always be moving, always be moving. And so then I think it's amusing because we're operating on the same wavelength, right? We haven't talked about any of this at all. And you're listening to Tony Robbins coming up with the same ideas as I'm thinking about and preaching. And I think it's fun how the universe is connected that way,
Uh-huh. And you know
right?
something else awesome?
What?
I
What
got on
else
the
is awesome?
Peloton yesterday and the first time in 6 months. So
Yeah,
it
I
goes
got on
along
the
the same.
I got
Yeah,
on the treadmill Sunday night for the first time in like 6 months. And I didn't
that's
go
awesome.
running or anything. I just went like, walking a little bit of running here and there because what I noticed is I have a watch and it tells me if I hit 10,000 steps. And so I was watching it hit some days and not others. And I was like, I kind of want to hit 10,000 steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so and like there was one night I came home and I'm getting ready for bed. It's like 11:30 and I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
it's
a
one of those
thousand
days.
steps. I'm 1,000 steps. And so I'm like standing in the bathroom. I'm like, that sucks. I'm gonna miss it by 1,000 steps. And I was like, F this. I'm not missing this by 1,000 steps. And I'm like this
Yep.
in the bathroom
Good
until I got my
idea.
1,000 steps. And like I told my kiddos, right? I'm like, having a goal matters. Having a goal matters
Mm-hmm.
because if I didn't have the goal, I would have just been like, whatever. I go, but just me thinking about, oh, it'd be cool to always hit 10,000 steps made it so that the 9,000 and whatever wasn't good enough. And I was into the extra Sunday, wasn't moving around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, I'm at like 4 or 5,000 steps. And I'm like, nope, I've had 6 days in a row. I'm getting on the treadmill and I'm hitting
Yeah.
that goal. And I didn't want to, but I was like, I want to hit the goal more. But again, it's gotta move forward, gotta move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true in business and trading,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're dealing. Take the
Yes.
little gains. Don't worry so much about the losses. Just get over it and go for more little gains.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny part about this, and I'm trying to remember if I wrote this, I was in a discussion with someone, and I've got to kind of like scroll through, but they asked me, like, let's say, like, kind of like an existential question, I think, or something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I answered it, and it was something like, well, I think they asked about dreams, right?
Okay.
I think that's what it was. I think they were like, hey, like, what do you think about your dreams? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, and this, I'm like, well, I don't dream a lot anymore. Like, just because I'm too busy and I don't think about it, I don't wake up at the right times. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember them. And I go, but, I'm always in control in my dreams, right? I
Yeah.
go, so my dreams aren't random like a lot of people's because I'm always in control. I go, unless it's prophetic. I go, those I don't have any control over at all, really, because they're prophetic.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, wow, you're probably a pretty powerful dreamer. That's crazy. And they're like, and what kind of prophetic dreams have you had? And I'm like, tons, tons. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I go, in my life, I go, I would tell like Jer or Amy at different points, oh my gosh, last night I had a dream and this is the dream and XYZ is going to happen. I go, and it might have been 2, 3, 4 years down the road, but I'd be like, there it is. It's happening right
Mm-hmm.
now. This is that
Yeah.
dream. Remember when I told you this before? And the person was like, that doesn't seem very sciencey. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They, well, they said two things. I was like, well, I've done it, and you know, I go, I've only used the info from my dreams once or twice. I go, I
Yeah.
try to stay away from using my gifts that way, and you know that too. And I go, like my kids always say, it's not really fair to use stuff like that. And they go, well, you're so humble, and they were like sarcastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not humble or cocky. That's just the way the world is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and I go, like, a time when I used it was in the dream, something went bad. And I remember it. We were on a walk, and I remember just the feeling of something bad happening
Mm-hmm.
when we continued to walk. We passed people, and like within 5 minutes, crap went bad. And I don't remember, right? It was like the feels.
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon as that happened to me, like, I'm like, oh, this was the dream. And I was with Amy, and I was like, this is the dream. She's like, oh, what happened? I'm like, I don't remember, but I know we have to turn left ASAP. And she's like, why did we turn? Like, we crossed the road. And she's like, why are we crossing the road? And I'm like, because shit went bad. Like, that's all I
Yeah.
remember. We kept walking
Mm-hmm.
straight and shit went bad. So I know that, and I'm just turning left because
Mm-hmm.
I know that's going to deviate from the dream and from the universe talking. And they're like, that's really existential for somebody who's so sciency and science brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it may appear that way, but it's actually the opposite. I have enough data points
Yeah.
that it doesn't matter, like the why. Like, the why is what you do
Mm-hmm.
after. You plot your data and say, holy cow, there's a trend. Then you try to
Yeah.
explain why the trend exists. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
argue with the fact that I see the trend. As I tell students, the data is what the data is.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to devise ways to figure it out. And so
Yes.
that would be an example. And I was thinking back to the point where, like, you always yell at me, like in dice games, like, don't
Mm-hmm.
purposely roll doubles in Monopoly. That's rude, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or
We've had many
whatever.
conversations about that.
So many conversations. I'm like, so again, the universe, whatever you want to believe, my peeps, it'll talk to you. It'll
Mm-hmm.
let you know. And I was just watching a thing yesterday. What was his name? Somebody, you'll have to help me. His name was Silva, I think. I can't remember the first name. Silva's a common name, but he basically hacked his kids. And this was way
Really?
back when. way back
Mhm.
when. And you would know, like, if you looked it up, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about. But he hacked his kids and then he taught everybody how to hack things this way.
Mhm.
And somebody now has bought all the
That's so
copyrights and
familiar.
is making like a big, huge business. But it's
Mhm.
basically like manifesting
Mhm.
and doing all that and putting yourself so that you're learning how to tap into your alpha brain waves and you're learning how to tap into your theta brain waves and you're learning how to tap into those. And that by doing that, you can perceive how things are going to be, or you can start focusing on your intentions. And Jason's talked about that, right? Where he's like,
Mhm.
you're open to the opportunities when you're doing that. And why I'm bringing this up, besides the fact that you and I were connected on this universe thing,
Mhm.
like Amy and I were talking, and we've been talking about like the real estate stuff, right?
Mhm.
And Amy and I are big when we're buying or selling real estate, that if it's meant to be, we're pretty big. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Like we don't
Mhm.
force it. We believe deals are always there.
Yep.
It's it's not something that we do. Well, and so I've been trying to get my butt around to like selling one or listing one. And we kept talking about it. I'm like sitting at my desk and I got a thing from Zillow for the 4 unit saying, oh,
Mhm.
here's the value of the 4 unit. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I go, it's time to sell this.
Mhm.
I go, it's time to sell. And Zillow had a button on it in the email that said, do you want to sell this? And so I'm like,
Mhm.
sell it. And I'm filling it out, right? So I'm putting in the asking price. I'm doing all this stuff, filling out the whole form to publish it, to sell
Yeah.
the stupid thing. And I'm like, to the point where I probably should add some pictures and stuff, but everything's
Mhm.
filled out. And I get a text from Amy. Hey, one of my main people at work wants to buy the 4 unit. They're
Perfect.
super interested. They want to know when they can see it. And I'm like, shut up. And I took a picture just like this. I go, click of my computer and sent it to him. She's
That's
like,
hilarious.
holy cow. Right. But so I'm thinking about it. I'm literally working on it and focusing on it. She's thinking about it, working on focusing on it.
Mhm.
And some random person, like, I mean, she works with them, but they're not like anything
Mhm.
with real estate, comes up
Yeah.
and is like, you know what? I'm thinking about buying a 4 unit in Saginaw. I wish there was one closer. And
Oh,
she's
that's
like, I have a
awesome.
4 unit. Can I buy it?
Yeah,
She's
that's
like,
closer.
yeah. So yeah, that's
That's super awesome.
right. People, it's a thing. It's a thing, right? Keep your
That's
eyes open.
that was one of the hard things that I had to learn in business is that when I was trying to force something that wasn't coming naturally about, it usually meant something bad was going to happen or it wasn't going to work out for some reason. And I had to go through that a few times, like to be like, duh, like whenever, I mean, it's way different than working hard for something. Because you
Yes.
have to achieve anything worth having, you're going to have to work hard, but it's almost like a point where it's like you're pushing too, like you're imposing your will too much to make something happen that you want to happen that's not come about naturally. So that's one of the things I really try to keep an eye out for. Almost like with the fish store that we've been talking about. I could have
Yes.
pushed that more. I could have made it work out. I could have bought it,
Yes.
but at the same time, like, I felt that rent was too high. I might have been able to get a little bit lower, but for whatever reason, and I believe now I wasn't supposed to be there, and that's fine.
So I have the same thing going on with one of Amy's employers, right? That I think we should take over. Right? We should
Mm-hmm.
take this over. And we talked about that on here. You and I have
Mm-hmm.
talked about it. But every time I feel that resistance, and I'm like, this is the wrong resistance. It's clearly
Mm-hmm.
not the time. And I think you have to be aware of that, not
Mm-hmm.
backing away because it's hard or easy, but feeling the resistance. And what amuses me about this is it doesn't matter whether you're following Tony Robbins or Silva's teaching and Silva's
Mm-hmm.
brain methodology, or if you're a Christian praying to God, or someone praying to Buddha, and you're like, I want God to take over and do this, let me know what's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
They're all they're not all the same. They're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right. One of the things I said this recently to somebody, and it constantly is in my head. I'm always like, all ways lead to the way. Like
That was
always lead to the way.
That was last week's episode.
I know, and that always is running through my brain. Like,
Mhm.
don't go against the way things are. Be open, be
Mhm.
thinking about what you want. You're falling asleep, visualize what you're working on, visualize your problems. Let this supercomputer do its freaking job,
Mhm.
right? You can't do it if you're under stress, right? If you're pounded with stress, you can't do it if you're freaking out about everything. You
Mhm.
got to chill, focus on what you're doing. And if you're
Yep.
running into hard resistance, not, we're using this word incorrectly, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's resistance is the right word, but we're not talking about it being difficult, right? We're talking about feels here, which I get is not super
Mhm.
sciencey, but we're talking about you can feel that it's not quite right. That's the feeling.
Mhm.
It's not right. And you'll know that it's not quite right. You'll feel that if
And
you're
you can try
used
to
to
feel, you
listening.
can try to move past it, and then you'll learn that lesson.
Yeah, you'll learn that lesson. You'll learn that, right? Like,
Mhm.
and it's so weird because you do,
Yes.
right?
It's pretty awesome.
Well,
That's
and the
hilarious.
young
Oh,
people have a hard time with that, right?
well, that's part of that learning process. And it's funny, I decided today, and listening to Tony a little bit, I'm going back to the start out my days, or not my days, but whenever I shower, I'm going to start out with a cold shower again. I can't remember if we were just all talking about that, or if I don't think we talked about it on the episode,
No,
but
we did. I think we talked about it in the episode because we were talking about how it's hard to do things
yes. Oh yeah, we
that
were.
you know
Okay.
you're supposed to
But
do.
I used to do it because I was saying, okay, I'm going to do the most difficult thing that the universe can throw at me. I'm going to choose what that is. And then COVID happened, so I'm going at it with a different mindset now. I'm just doing it because I want to do the hard thing that I don't want to do and practice doing that hard thing.
So you said something great a few months ago, and I don't know where you got it from,
Mm-hmm.
but I've used it. I've told people and I credit you every time. So whoever really should get credit, we should probably give them credit. I mean, it might be you too,
Okay, I'll
but
let you
it's
know.
not. It's not.
Oh,
Um,
darn
it's for sure.
it.
But
Much greater thinker
it
than myself.
it is do things on your timeline.
Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Dr. Wang Dyer.
Wayne.
Oh, not
Yep.
Wang.
Not Wang.
Wayne
Wayne
Dyer.
I
Yeah, so
forget
explain
which
that
book
to
that
us.
is. So I forget which book it is. So it happens to me a lot. So maybe you're like checking your emails. And for like myself, I might get an email from a customer. So if I take the 30 seconds to write that customer back right away,
Mhm.
for whatever reason it is, I'm doing it on its time because I was there, I saw the email, I set aside that time right there. Whereas later, something might come up, this or that. I could forget about it, or I have to set aside time to take care of that. So then that job is cutting into my time where I'm using other things. So the idea is you take care of things on their time.
Or on your time. So I keep saying let's take care of things on your time, not others. So it's really interesting. And my favorite example that I give to people,
Mm-hmm.
and I've used it multiple times since then, but my favorite example is the Tesla tires, right?
Yes, that's
So
a
the
great
Tesla
example.
tires needed to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
You could have done it on your time. You made the choice to not do it on your time. And then you had to do it on the Tesla's time, which was
Yes.
very inconvenient.
Like then I had to do it. So yeah, that's the next step after. If you don't do it on your time. So yeah, we're
Yes,
saying it the same ways, but it's the idea is there. But
the
yeah, that's
idea is
from
there.
That's from Wayne Dyer. Maybe the power of intuition, or
Yeah.
I love all his stuff. His stuff is awesome. He's
Well, and
passed
let me
now.
tell you, here's the two spots where it's come up recently. One, I was up north with a buddy, and he's like,
Mhm.
"Hey, I want to take down this one tree," and I'm like, "Okay, we take it down." And we're like on like the trail, and he's like, "Look at that tree. That one looks like it's gonna fall sometime." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you think we should take it down?" And I'm like, "Well, let me ask you the question. Do you want to do it on your time right now? Take it down, or the next time you come up here and you go to drive back here and it's laying across the track? Do you want to do it then?"
Mhm.
He's like, "Well, clearly now." And I go, do things
Yes.
when you want to do them. Don't
Mhm.
put it off until you have to. The other one is
Yes.
I have a friend who the doctor's like, "Hey, you're going to need your gallbladder taken out." And they're like, "Ooh, I don't really have time for that." And they're like, "It doesn't matter. Like, you can make the appointment now and have it taken
Mhm.
out, or your gallbladder will make sure you take it out some other time." So,
Yeah. If you make it through
right.
it.
So you decide you can either do it on your time or you can do
Yeah.
it on your gallbladder's time. You can do it on your time or you can do it on the tree's time. And so I
Mhm.
don't know how he said it, but I keep telling people, you want to do things when you want to do them. Don't, I'm a
That
huge
yes, what you're saying
procrastinator,
makes
people,
sense.
but
Mhm.
you don't want to push things off that are going to happen eventually either way.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, you were right. That was a much greater thinker than myself.
Man, you know what else I've been thinking about a lot? We
Hmm.
wished Heather a happy birthday. Heather's one of our
Mhm.
old friends from high school, friends in college, was in my wedding, right? She's been
Mhm.
around through a lot. And so it was her birthday. We wished her happy birthday. But I miss our Heather and all of our
Mhm.
friends, right? So you should keep in touch with all of your friends, my peeps. So even if it's just a
I
message,
agree.
keeping connections is important.
Yeah, that actually it's funny. That's one thing that Tony said in one of the interviews that I was just like, you know what, I need to do that. Just like reaching out like a thoughtful, if something comes up where you can really do it, but he's around a lot of people, so he can see things that people do at work, and he can give a sincere, great job on doing this or that. But what he was also talking about reaching out and just staying in touch with people. I mean, Heather's been a great friend for many, many years, even though I don't remember in middle school, but still, like before eighth grade. I was just telling Gina that story. I was laughing. But yeah, we I agree. It would be awesome for us all to meet up in
Well,
Jesse
and
and
it comes back. This is something you don't have this experience as much, but I work. I love my job. We've talked about that a lot, but I work in a place where I'm interacting with hundreds of people a day, right? So I'm
mhm.
always interacting. No, I'm not in sales, peeps, right? And like we were talking the other day about one of our leaders who left, like at the end of
Yeah.
last year, right? And thought of themselves as a friend to a lot of the people there, right? Because one of the guys laughed about how they didn't invite him to their wedding and they were all sad about it. And he's like, "Why would I?" Right. And I'm like, "Well, because
Mhm.
they thought that we're all like friends." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." And I'm like, "You know how you tell?" And they're like, "How?" I go, "How many times have either you or that person reached out to each other in the 6, 7, 8 months that they've been gone?"
Mhm.
That tells you, right? Because you were literally interacting with that person every single day. And now that they're gone, I'm guessing you have never had one thought where you were
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Oh, I should reach out to that person, shoot them a text, see how they're doing." You're never having that thought. That means they were an acquaintance, not a friend, right? Whereas we will randomly think about Jesse and be like, "I'm reaching out to Jesse." Or
Mhm.
one that I always see and I'm hoping to see tomorrow. And if I don't, I'm going to freaking reach out because we're having this
Mhm.
talk. But Rachel and Brett.
Mhm.
So I see Rachel and Brett easily once or twice a year at different events. right?
Okay.
Rachel and Brett are more high school friends of ours,
Mm-hmm.
right? And always big hugs, and we're always so happy to see each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, cripe, I don't think I've seen them or heard from them in like a year. I'm like,
Okay.
I need to freaking reach out and just say, hey, I'm thinking about you guys. I hope everything is going well. Just
Mm-hmm.
making that connection and keeping those connections with people from your past that you value, because life now is getting in the way. We're all too busy and life
Mm-hmm.
gets in the way. But taking a moment to reach out to those people and be like, yeah, I remember you.
Yes.
Social media makes that easy. Now, those two I don't see on social media, which is why I would have to reach.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know
Yeah, I
if
don't.
Christmas cards count.
Yeah, I don't know if Christmas cards count either. That's
That's
one
not really
thing
reaching out.
that I really value what we
Yes.
have. And also, I mean, every night that I'm doing something, tonight's Tuesday, tomorrow night is amazing, and I'm super thankful to have that. Although those are new friends for me.
Yes. Those are new
And
friends
then
too.
our Thursday night's amazing. So Jamie is part of that, and Jamie's been a great friend for many years. So it's awesome to have that couple hours of hanging out and just BSing and doing whatever.
Well, and one of my worries about our Wednesday nights is I feel really, really connected to those people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering how big of a gap happens where you don't have that connection and you lose that, right? Like that's always my thing. Like I like it while it's happening. And I'm like, I'm sad if you leave and we don't like connect again or whatever. So,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny because I used to have another gaming group forever and disconnected for a while because I think of Cal and everything like that. And
Mm-hmm.
got back in touch playing some Commander with them, which is an MTG. And then
Mm-hmm.
just recently they reached out and were like, hey, we're going to have like a huge get together. We want you to come. We know it's going to be super hard because it's your busy season. But if you can make it out, we're going to be doing like 3 days and playing crap tons of magic and
Oh,
eating.
that's
And
awesome.
I'm like, how cool is that? But
Mm-hmm.
again, making that connection, they reached out and I've reached out a couple times to them. They got in Discord and I'm like, hey. So anyway, a lot of mushy stuff there
That's
at the
awesome.
end, peeps,
That's
but we probably
awesome.
got to wrap it up.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Stay connected with us. Shoot us messages. We love you all. This is Ballbuster signing off.
With the Dragon Jerry, love you all.